What's up, everybody? Azarel here for another Yu-Gi-Oh! 101 discussion. This was completely off the agenda. I didn't even think about talking about this. Um, I'm involved in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community on Yu-Gi-Oh! In particular, and I'm subscribed to a couple of Yugi-tubers, as they call themselves. And I guess I would be a Yugi-tuber of sorts. Just considering that I'm a guy that takes part in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, whether it be card reviews, discussions, giving out tips based on my experience with the game, or what have you. I am involved with it, so I guess in turn I am a Yu-Gi tuber. But yeah, like I said, I'm involved in the Yu-Gi-Oh community on YouTube and all over the internet. And you know when things are being talked about, I feel the need to bring them to our attention for those for those who may not have heard of it. Okay, so it was this um, website called YuGiOh Overdose, and somebody on there, I can't remember the guy's name exactly. Hold on, by T Popro. Um, that seems to be the guy who had written the article. He was writing on Dark Hole and how the usefulness of cards like Dark Hole and Torrential Tribute are losing their usefulness in the game. And, of course, like he gave out like a list of decks and what have you, um, that have so many of these countermeasures against, cards like Dark Hole and Torrential Tribute. And of course, I'll be putting the link to this article um, in the video description so you guys can see it for yourself, and you can see the list of those cards. I mean, like a list of those decks and the cards that those decks run or are known to run, and these countermeasures that they have up against those two cards that I mentioned. Like Dark Hole and Torrential Tribute. Um, but the main focus was Dark Hole and how, like its usefulness is really starting to diminish in the game because of these new cards that are coming in. Here's the thing that I need to say to that, because a lot of people are going off of the hype of it, I feel, and here's the truth of the matter. In a game like Yu-Gi-Oh, growth is something that just naturally happens. With growth, old things become less useful and the new things become more useful. Duh. With Yu-Gi-Oh, you know, certain cards that may not have been as useful when they first got introduced end up becoming useful, and they end up going onto the ban list, or they end up getting limited or what have you. You know, and I kind of look at this in the same light as I do with cards that get either semi-limited or limited, because you're not able to use it as well as you may have once did, so automatically people push it over to this category of not being useful at all, when in turn the card is still useful, but it takes more of a creative mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to think too deep, but it does take more of a creative mind to use that card in a way that, you know, how can I put it? That the way the card is still useful. Because I've seen cards in this game um, that at one point they were just regular cards, but then new cards came in, and those cards ended up becoming really good. They ended up having to put those cards on the, you know, on the ban list. Either those cards got limited, or they got banned from the game completely, and you had to find new ways to use them. But of course, new things came in, and those cards just get forgotten about. They just get forgotten about. Case in point, with cards like the Pot of Greed. Eventually Pot of Greed had ended up getting banned when it first got introduced. I mean, the most that you can really get out of Pot of Greed was, some help um, you know what I'm saying, like with Exodia decks, or just when you need some extra draw power. Eventually, it became too good, you know, for the new cards that were coming in. They ended up limiting it, and even limited, it was still too good, so they ended up banning the card altogether. And you can put that with like a bunch of cards, such as like, you know, such as with cards like um Crush Card Virus, like Dust Trap Shoot, and you know what I'm saying, and the list goes on. You know, as the game grows, certain cards will become better, and other cards will become less useful. The main thing I want to say is this: it's not that Dark Hole or either, you know, like cards like Torrential Tribute suck now. I would say it's just going to take more of a creative way to use them, that people aren't willing to put that much thought into using a card like that. So they're just going to brush it off to the side until one person decides to bring that card back and finds a creative way to use it. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, that's genius. Next thing you know, it's overpowered. And then you got to have some people complaining that the thing is fucking, you know, needs to be banned. And no, I'm not talking about the little people that, you know, just be joking around with things like that. Like, oh my god, like Shape Snatch, that card needs to be banned. Actually, Shape Snatch does need to be banned. That card is completely overpowered. I hate that that is the only normal monster card in the game that needs to be banned. Shape Snatch. No joking. Like, that guy is just completely overpowered. I don't know what the hell it is about him, but he just looks at you with that eye, and he looks like he's getting ready to give you the finger, and that smug little bastard in a fucking top hat, bitch. Anyway, all joking aside though, but yeah, it's really going to take more creativeness to use cards such as, you know, Dark Hole and Torrential Tribute, because it's just the natural growth of the game. I mean, right now, you know, with some of the lists, with some of the decks that they given it as examples, with these cards, you know, you're just gonna have to find ways to take advantage of, you know, what these cards do, or find a way to use them, because these cards are still useful, believe it or not. You know, I haven't used a Dark Hole in a while. I still put it in some of my decks, and it's helped me in the method that, in ways that I wanted it to help. You know, it clears the field of the monsters, and I'm able to get my strategy off enough to where they can't do anything about it. You know, with the exception of them having like an effect veiler or something in their hand, but normally I'm able to get off what I need to. Normally, I'm able to pull off my strategy that I'm trying to pull off, thanks to cards like Torrential Tribute and Dark Hole. So I wouldn't say that the cards suck now. I don't think that they're useless. I just think it's really going to take some creative minds to really use those cards the way it needs to be. Um, do I think that the cards will end up getting semi-limited? I mean, as far as like, you know, like Dark Hole, I think we can see that card getting semi-limited in the future, maybe even unlimited. You know what I mean? Because like, who the hell is going to run more than one Dark Hole when they have all these provisions to stop it? Or that and Torrential Tribute, when they have all of these other cards out there that can dodge, duck, and dip around these cards, you know? But yeah, those cards are still, you know what I'm saying, a force to be reckoned with. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's not get it twisted. In the right hands, which is with any card in Yu-Gi-Oh, you know, Dark Hole can still be just as devastating as it once was, in my opinion. Um, and like the same thing went with Torrential Tribute. You just gotta like, it just happens with natural growth. You just have to find a you can't just play it like you normally did. You have to find a creative way to use those cards nowadays. And that's basically just what I wanted to touch on with you guys. Like, yeah, I think the overall usefulness of said cards are gonna be, you know, lower than it was. but they're not, like those cards don't really suck, as much as some people try to lead you to believe. Or, no, I'm not taking shots at nobody. Let me just say that. Um, but yeah, like the cards, um, they can be still be almost as devastating as they once were, or like as they currently are. You know, it's just really going to take some creative minds to come up with some ways to do that. And anytime I hear things like this, I kind of take it as a challenge to me, because that kind of puts me in a position where I feel like I have to, well, not have to, where I want to show that these cards are still just as good as they have been. You know, I just use that to challenge myself, and I end up finding new strategies and new things to do. Like that's just something that I've always done in Yu-Gi-Oh. That's probably what pushed me to you know, that's probably the one thing that really pushed me into researching as much as it has over the years of me playing this game. Just trying to find new things and new creative ways to use what may not be as popular anymore. But yeah, yeah, that's just me though. But yeah. So thanks for watching this. Spread the video, spread the news. If you're involved in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. Again, link to that article will be in the description. You guys can check it out. He does, like the guy does, make some interesting points, and some really good ones. But like I said, it's at that point in Yu-Gi-Oh where it's just natural growth. You just have to find new and inventive ways to use those cards. You can't just use them in the same way that you may have once was able to use them. You just got to find more creative ways to do that. And yeah, so that's it. So until the next video, peace. See you guys later. See you guys later. Suddenly, Chips Ahoy.